Hello everyone and welcome to week 2 of Board Game Madness, the tournament where games in my collection are pitted against one another and you vote for them. Half of the games are the top games I own on the Board Game Geek Top 100, and the other half are the top selling games of all time. So let's see a recap of what happened last week. So the first matchup in our tournament was Twilight Struggle versus Trivial Pursuit. In this one, Twilight Struggle got 61% of the votes and moves on to round 2. Matching up against Twilight Struggle will be Hegemony. The matchup of Monopoly against Hegemony, the two economic board games, resulted in Hegemony getting 75% of the votes in this round, and a very strong victory for Hegemony, moving on to our second round matchup. In the matchup of Root versus Clue, Root comes out with 85% of the votes, moving now into round 2. And they will be matched up against Chess. So Chess beats out Seven Wonders, 63% of the votes against 37% of the votes. Checkers and Power Grid was a very tight matchup and actually got 50-50 on our voting on YouTube, but I did also have some votes going on Instagram, and on Instagram, the tiebreaker, Checkers, ended up beating out Power Grid, and even though it was the better seed, this was a bit of an upset in my eyes, so well done, Checkers, you've made it to round 2. And another upset that is going to match up with them is the game Battleship, beat out Scythe, 52% of the vote to 48% of the vote. If there had been one vote that went the other direction, it probably would have flipped this one, but Battleship in a shocker, and just like every other 5-12 matchup in the March Madness tournament, this turned into a win for Battleship. So Battleship and Checkers are going to be in our Elite 8, and one of them will make it into the Final 4. Next up, and no surprise at all, even though Candyland did get a few votes, War of the Ring wins that one decisively with 81% of the vote versus 19% for Candyland. Scrabble and Wingspan also ended up tied, and this makes sense to me because both of these are beloved games, one for the wordsmiths out there and one for people who just like building their little bird habitats and territories. So for this one, I also had to go on to Instagram and see what the vote looked like there, and it ended up with a 67% for Scrabble and 33% for Wingspan. So let's look at these matchups one more time. So the first round 2 matchup is Twilight Struggle versus Hegemony. These are two of my favorite games, and Twilight Struggle is the Cold War game where players are trying to influence different countries and trying to gain victory through having higher amounts of influence in different places around the world, while also being unsure what their opponent is doing, which can then make them make decisions that they wouldn't do based on what their decisions are. But it's a lot of fun, a lot of strategy, and thinking about what your opponent is doing and trying to beat them that way. And that is going against Hegemony, which is the simulation of the economy where players can take on the role of the capitalist, the working class, the middle class, or the state to try to defeat one another. So this should be a great matchup, and I'm really interested in seeing how this comes out, considering these are games that I've talked about quite a bit over the time, and we'll see which one gets to the Final 4. Next are Chess and Root, and Chess is obviously the classic game of strategy and tactics where you try to capture the king. Everybody knows what the game of chess is, but that is going against Root, which has wonderful art and a fun theme of the forest. Very customizable game, as you can be different factions and see how they interact with one another and try to gain victory as you're going along with that. The third matchup that we have is Checkers and Battleship. And to me, I'm Surprised one of these games made it to round 2, but very surprised they both did. But they got the votes. They are very well-known games, and they've been played a long time. And checkers is a great introductory game for kids to learn when they're very young. And Battleship, you are trying to figure out where your opponent has the battleship and knock it out. Both of these games are very accessible for all ages, so we'll see which one is going to pull out the victory in this one. And lastly, we've got War of the Ring versus Scrabble, which is a very interesting matchup to me because Lord of the Rings fans and war game fans are absolutely going to love War of the Ring and want to vote for that one. But Scrabble is tried and true, and it is a game that very much the people who like to think about words and being creative with what they have and having to think on their feet really enjoy this game and have for decades. So this should be a great second round, and we'll see where everything ends up. But now it's up to you. I have posted the different polls on my YouTube channel at Lakeside Gamers 5, and you can vote for whichever one that you are interested in voting for. I'll also have it up on Instagram, and similar to what we did in the first round, the YouTube vote is what I'm going to use first, and if I need to do a tiebreaker, the Instagram vote will be a tiebreak in that situation. So the polls will be available to vote for 1 week. I'll leave the vote up there afterwards just so people can see where things are at, and who knows, they might change over time. But after 1 week, so next Saturday from when this video is posted, I'll look at the results and we'll set things up for round 3. So thanks for watching. Thanks for participating. I'm enjoying this, and I hope you are interested in seeing what other people are voting on for this as well. So have a great day, and I hope to see you next time.